resistance, the Force responds to you. Join me and learn the power of the dark side. Your thoughts betray you. You support the resistance. If you stand against us, you won't be standing long.
We're live. We have not been live in a while. Hello, everybody. For those of y'all that didn't know, I was actually using the MiCom system that we make here as well. And this is a special system that we have built for a promotion that's coming up. It's a little messy there with my long wires, but it's a gold edition MiCom gold edition, and there's the 8 trigger control board. If y'all didn't know, I make these too. That one's set up for.
We are finished here.
Ooh.
You may go.
It lights up when you.
You may go. You will fight with us. With training, you can serve the First Order and play your part in its absolute victory.
So it's a pretty awesome system. If y'all keep an eye on the MiCom webpage, this MiCom is actually going to be part of a giveaway prize. So if you go on Facebook and search MiCom, M-I-C-O-M, you'll come across our page, and there's going to be a giveaway with this rig coming up here shortly, and a promotional we're doing. But by the way, if the Truth 1777 comes on, he was asking what's the status of the build. It's built. So I'll be shipping that rig and the other rig to your house, Mike, so you'll have them and we can begin the promotional foray. Cole, great to see you. And I got something to show you guys. Stand by. Didn't even bring that in. I wasn't gonna talk about it. I don't know. A bunch of people were worried about a whamma. Y'all know what that is. That's awesome. Hey, thanks, Jenru. Jenru checked on. She's stalking me. Jenru's stalking me. I am glad to see all of you guys too, Cole and Max and everyone. This last couple of weeks has been very, very tough. Very, very tough. Thank you, Cole. I'll be sending you a Facebook message about that thing. I know we have an agreement, but I can't thank you guys enough for helping make that cross guard happen. It was huge, awesome. The Saber community is amazing. Well, the last few weeks have been really tough. I don't want to talk about work or anything else. Let's talk about lightsabers and stuff tonight's the big thing. Wow, since the last time we were live, Proffie OS has undergone one major renovation and two sub renovations, and I have recently discovered the gesture stuff. And not only that, today I actually figured out the stab ignition, and the stab's more like a reverse action. Sometimes I can't get it. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. It's still harder for me to get stab, but I got the stab ignition, the twist off. That gesture ignition is pretty awesome. And all the stuff in Proffie OS, the multi-blaster thing, well, I should demonstrate it on a saber with a shorter blade. So I have another saber. This is for Tony Tone. Yeah, the twist is more reliable, but I'm getting better at stab. And I think the reverse direction is more critical. But have y'all seen the multi-blast? So you press aux twice, and then it gives you a blast every time you swing the saber. That's cool. See, it's easier to trigger on Proffie 1.5. I still got to get better at it, but I'm getting there. That is. But this is Tone's Saber, and the funny thing is so Tony lives in Hong Kong. Yeah. But actually, I've been having better luck, Fernando, just dragging it backwards. You see that? I can get it more consistent just dragging it backwards, but I'm getting there. So between that, oh yeah, this is Proffie 1.5. This is Proffie 1.5. So what I was getting ready to tell you guys is Tony sent me this saber. So, I don't want to get too much into Tony, but Tony lives in Hong Kong. And I don't know if y'all been keeping up with the current events, but, Hong Kong's got a lot of bad stuff going on right now, a lot of protests. And the Chinese are basically trying to take over Hong Kong. And Tony's basically had to flee Hong Kong. So I've had a bunch of his sabers here, and this one actually originally had Prism in it, and he sent it to me, and I converted it to Proffie and kept everything else. And it was installed with like 2.2 when he first sent me this, and now this is installed with 4.7. So that's how long I've had this. That's how long the turmoil's been going on in Hong Kong. So it's like all of Tony's sabers, they just keep upgrading with the OS changes. But OS 4.7 is really cool. I'll try to show some of the features here on my longer blade saber, but you have the lightning block. I don't know if that's going to show up or not. That's insane. Then you have localized lockup, but it moves up and down the blade. And then the really insane thing is melt. Which when you twist the hilt, it changes color. That's freaking insane. Of course, it still has tip drag. And the multi-blast. So every time you swing it, you get, a blaster. And then, of course, color changing. Oop. Threw too much at it. Can't get that one to go into color changing for some reason. Oh, there we go. Huh. That's weird. That's really weird. Well, I'm going to demonstrate color changing on this one. Voltage speed. 3.99 volts. There's the color change wheel. I don't know why I couldn't get it on that other saber. I'm having problems with the aux button on that saber. But that color change wheel is pretty sick. And lock it in on green. Because that's a green saber. But I don't know why I can't get the color change wheel working on that one. That one's weird. Of course, now it works, right? And red was really hard to select. but it's a little bit easier now. And of course, that's got Fernando's cool down feature on the blade, where it cools down to nothing. But oh, ukulele girl's on here too. But wow, OS 4.7. Ron Davis, if you're looking for a guide for all of that, it's in the prop file. So I use SA2CC's prop file, and he has instructions for all the button presses within his prop file. And I'm pretty sure that Fernando's prop file, that he's FET 263, Fernando De Rosa's prop file also has button instructions, and so does Dimitri's. So they're actually within the prop file in the Proffie OS. So if you go in the Proffie OS and you open up all those folders and you see props, you want to look at the prop file that you're using. I just happen to be using SA2CC's. Yeah, you know, Cole, when you're using single button, you do lose some functionality, or functionality gets more difficult. Oh, buenas noches in Madrid, Israel, Ormus. It's good to see you. What time is it in? What time is it in Spain? What is that? I forgot to ask. ¿Qué hora es in Spain? Yeah, in the prop files. Yeah, you can figure out all the button presses, but you actually have to open up the prop files. 241. That's buenos. That's buenos dias. 2:41 a.m. in Barcelona. Well, welcome from Spain. That's awesome. I think Israel, that you're the first person from Spain that I've had on. I've had a lot of people in the Americas, but no one from Spain. That's pretty crazy. That's awesome. But yeah, if you're looking for the button commands, they're all within the prop files. It tells you how to. Oh yeah, you needed to point it down, Cole. I don't know, Cole. I've never used the single button mode. You know, you can even run Proffie with 0 buttons, but you lose a lot of functionality if you use 0 buttons. That's why typically I try to use at least 2 buttons on my Sabers. I haven't even tried the 1 button, just because I'm afraid of losing all the cool stuff that the Sabers can do with, you know, FET's blade styles. You know, Fernando's blade style page has been huge, and if y'all don't know it, you know, there's links to it on TRA. There's links to it on several of my videos. I could put a link in this video, but it's longer than the chat allows, so I have to put a link on the comments after this video publishes. But you know, wow, lots of stuff has happened since the last time I went live. Number one, Fernando's come up with a gazillion new blade styles for 4.7. He's got energy saving, the smoke blade, which I got a smoke blade on this Saber. I haven't even looked at it yet. I don't even remember.
I've been waiting for. Hello there.
I'm trying to find Fernando's smoke blade.
Purple.
I don't remember where I put it.
Yellow. TIE Fighter. The balance.
That's my lightning blade.
The Cyber Project.
No, that's rainbow.
Purple.
Oh, it's a battery blade. That's why I wouldn't activate. It's the battery blade.
If you will not turn to then perhaps she will.
I'll get it. It's so cool. The gesture ignition is so cool. I'm having so much fun with the gesture ignitions. It's been a lot of fun. all these updates that have been happening on the Proffie OS 4.7 are incredible. There's changes happening, even now. And the cool thing is, whether you got a Proffie 1.5 or Teensy Saber or Proffie 2.2, the Proffie OS works. Everybody always asks, well, I would rather have a Proffie 2.2 Saber. Why? Proffie 1.5 can run all this too. There is zero difference between Proffie 1.5 and Proffie 2.2 as far as functionality. Oh, is it up to 4.9 now, max? I have 4.7. All these Sabers are uploaded with 4.7, but when I left you guys, we were still officially on 3.9. 4 question mark was in beta, and I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just overwhelmed with everything these Sabers can do in 4.7. I know that gesture ignition you're absolutely right. And my problem with it initially was, when it times out, because there's a timeout feature on it where it turns off the motion driver, and I had to fix that. And once I fixed that, you know what? Once I fixed the timeout, then I've got it down. So my problem with the gesture ignition and retraction initially was the motion engine on the Proffie was timing out. Frederick still hasn't turned on deep sleep technically. You actually have to go, there's a thread about it on open source. I don't recall right now which one I had to modify. Hang on a second. Let me minimize this and go into the OS. Pretty sure it was on common. Saberbase.h. So if you go in the common folder on saberbase.h, you're looking for some timeout setting there, and it's set to 20 seconds or 2,000 milliseconds, and I changed it to like 90,000 milliseconds, which should be like 90 seconds. But it's the saberbase.h file in the common folder. And you have to look for some request. There's a request timeline or something like that, and you have to change it. There's a thread on it in open source. I actually posted about it because I was having an issue with that. But yeah, there's a way to change that motion timeout so you can get about, I put mine on 90 seconds. And, on my Sabers where I have a flashing, last motion request, that's it, Ken of the Hill, line 61 on the saber.h file in the common folder. That's what you need to change. And HexX Sabers is on. Hey, it's good to see you, Jeff. I am glad to have you on. And if everybody hasn't seen, HexX has a giveaway right now, a fundraiser that he's doing. And I've linked it on my page. I've linked it on my personal page. And, y'all join in and help get Jeff's son an assistance dog. That's a huge cool thing in my opinion. I'm a huge dog fan, right, Risky? Risky's always sitting right down here when I'm doing a live stream. So if you see me reaching over here, I'm always petting Risky because he's sitting right next to me when I'm doing the live stream. And, Risky's really important to me, and he's not even an assistance dog. When you've got somebody that's on the spectrum and they're having the issues that Jeff's son has, I can't imagine what kind of help that a dog would be for his son and for Jeff and his wife. I know it's got to be really exhausting going through what they're going through. But at any rate, a Jeff and Tom Zoom live stream. I keep hoping his job will end up down in North Carolina, but I don't think the rail company he works for actually comes here. This is all CSX land. Do y'all do the Chesapeake Southern line, Jeff, or are y'all somewhere else? I assume you're like on the Santa Fe line. This is all CSX territory down here. Well, if you ever end up around Wilmington, North Carolina, Jeff, you know we need to get together. But man, I've missed you guys. Yeah, that's too bad. Because I'm like way down on the southeast coast of North Carolina, right on the ocean. Yeah, Florida. Oh well. But at any rate, yeah, I didn't mean to talk about your work, Jeff. I'm sorry about that. I would just, I remember when you and y'all had another get together, and I was like, oh man, I didn't move yet. But I did have a meeting about the house we're looking at, and I'm actually talking with a mortgage broker this week, and the closing date is tentatively July 31st, 31 de julio this year. So that would be awesome. Um, to close on my new house and move into the new house, and it won't be contingent upon the sale of this house, which is awesome because I still have some work to do. Well, I look forward to meeting you in person, Jeff, because I think we have a lot of common interests, believe it or not. But at any rate, I'm so glad to be back on. To say the last 4 months haven't been stressful is an understatement. And fortunately for me, on social networking, pretty much everything is about lightsabers. So most of the posts I see, because Facebook looks at what you look at a lot, are lightsabers. But I know, when I'm going in to dive in to look at lightsaber stuff, I can see some of the other noise on the periphery, and I don't want to partake in any of it. No matter which side of it that I'm on, I don't want to see any of it. I'm tired of our country being divided. I don't like it. It's stressful to me. But lightsabers have been a respite from all the nonsense, and especially with all this stuff going on in OS 4.7. Now I'm so excited about it. I even put OS 4.7 on my brass flagship. So let me wake up.
4.04 volts.
No, I can't get it. But at any rate, my flagship. The flagship's got 4.7 and motion gesture stuff on it now too, so that's pretty awesome. I had so much fun. I rewrote the configs for, my daily beater, which, this one's my daily beater. And I love this saber. And, my brass flagship, I love that thing too. I don't know, most of y'all have probably seen that. Pete Sandoval did the etch on this thing. And, it's got the Imperial cog here. And then on the other side, it's actually got my logo, which is pretty cool. And then there's all kinds of, other etching in the hilt and the leather wrap. This saber's awesome. I watched your video, Jeff. The funny thing you mentioned that. So my favorite lightsaber build that I ever did. Oh, the blade plug on that flagship. That is a Arkham razor blade plug by Darkside Engineering by Kaz, and it's actually the shredder. It's the brass shredder. Yeah. So Jeff, I bought a stainless steel and gold steel chassis from Goth for my Graflex, which was my favorite build of all time. It's my Teensy Saber Graflex, my TFA Graflex. My videos are about it, but it's the Goth Master chassis, all in metal. And when I got that chassis, it looked like crap. I mean, when you were showing your all-in-one chassis magnified, I'm like, yeah, that looks familiar. And to be honest with you, I know you said Dremel takes too much out of it, but I used a Dremel to knock down the texture. And I was aggressive with the Dremel. I know you said you're not being aggressive, but I was aggressive. I used 80 and 60 grit wheels to grind out that texture. And then once I got the texture ground out, I was using, I think I started with like 100 grit sandpaper, and then I went to 200 grit, and then 400 grit, and then a polishing wheel, and I actually got my stainless. Stand by, I'll show you. So this, the funny thing is, I've had, a couple of guys ask me to build this chassis for them. This is my chassis. This is stainless steel, and this camera sucks, but you can see that shine on there. But when I got this chassis, it did not look like that. There's oh yeah. Well, I dremeled the texture out of it, and then I polished it. I polished it by hand sanding it. And the hand sanding actually removes any imperfections that the Dremel put into it. But that chassis is freaking phenomenal. It's to a mirror shine. And, I had somebody that said, I don't have a lathe, Ron. I had somebody that wanted me to build one of these Graphics chassis for them, including all the metal polish. And I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm doing that. That is my favorite saber that I've ever built. This is a Graphics 2.5. It's got full shine through. I got this down to brass. I mean, this has got tons of stuff on it. This has Teensy Saber V3 on it. Yeah, Arkham was the original razor blade plugs. That's right. And his partner is Kaz. And Kaz does the 1-inch blade plugs. That's Darkside Engineering. And Arkham still does the 7/8. But this saber, this is running Teensy Saber V3 still. And guess what OS this Teensy Saber V3 is running? 4.7. So the cool part about Proffie, Teensy Saber, Proffie 1.5, Proffie 2.2, I built this saber 3 years ago. It has all the same functionality that any other Proffie saber has. That is the beauty of open source. Oh yeah. Cole, that one guy that wanted me to build this chassis for him, including all the polishing, I'm like, dude, I think I spent 60 or 70 hours just polishing the individual chassis pieces. And that was before I put it together. So, when I say this is my favorite saber, it's my favorite build of all time, I don't know that it's my favorite saber outside of the fact that I put so much work in it. Oh, yeah. I guess I could use a drill as a DIY lathe, but yeah. That saber is running Teensy Saber V3, and it's NeoPixel, and it's still awesome. So every time the OS upgrades, I upgrade the OS on that Teensy Saber V3, and it's doing all the stuff that Proffie can do. So that was the beauty to me of Teensy Saber, Proffie, etc. was, before, like if you installed a Nano Biscotti V2 and then Nano Biscotti V3 came out, and I hate to use Plector Labs, but it just jumped in my head. But, when Flash on Clash first came out, if you had V2, I can't remember if it was V1 or V2 started Flash on Clash, you had to upgrade your board. So you had to rip out your install and put in a new board. Once you install a Proffie, as long as you don't fry it, once you install a Proffie, it's infinitely upgradable. If new features get added via the OS, you just re-upload your config with the new OS, and as long as you stay as long as your blade styles stay main OS compliant, which there for a while a bunch of us had jumped off the main operating system onto the SA2CC's color changing fork, and in hindsight that was probably a mistake for a lot of us, because when we jumped ship to the 2.9cc fork, we changed all our blade styles into something that was not main OS compliant. And then every saber I installed on 2.9cc, if they came back to me for a redo, I would have to totally rewrite the configs because they were 2.9cc compliant. That got me thinking something else I wanted to discuss that came up in the last week. It made me kind of sad. And Jeff and I have talked about this before. Whoa, that one's a mess. That one's not mine. That's an igniter that I ripped out. At any rate, I don't know if y'all saw, what did Cole say? Oh yeah. Yeah, I would charge somebody a lot of money for that, to hand sand those chassis. But I don't know if y'all saw. Yeah. You know, there's a Spark 2 board. And then I know I got igniter in here somewhere. The Spark color. But yeah. Max, I'd be happy to send you any of these boards, but the problem is I don't know what kind of support you're going to get on them. And I don't even have SD cards for them. But yeah, if anybody hasn't heard, you know, about Scott, you know, he's had a lot of health problems, and he's basically taken the igniter off the market. And I really hate to see that. Yeah, you don't think I was an NEC fan. I'll show you. He had some health problems, and he bowed out. You know, there's Igniter 3. I mean, to tell y'all that I was a huge NEC fan, I'll show you. You're going to believe me. I mean, I used to exclusively install NEC boards. Yes, Fernando, I totally agree with you that the 2.9cc fork is what finally convinced Frederick that color change was needed. My only thing is, I think we made a mistake. I don't think we should have been I don't think I should have been installing customer Sabers with a fork that had blades that weren't in compliance with the main OS. That was my point. I know that the CC fork was needed. I want to show y'all. If there was ever any doubt, I'm a huge NEC fan. Was a huge NEC fan. There's a bunch of NEC boards that I have, and there's even more in my drawer. And here's my thing about NEC. Before NEC got involved in this, Plector basically, you know, you either had a Plector board or you had a old master replica board, and the master replica board stunk. And there's NEC boards, tons of them. And my first install ever into a custom Saber was with Spark 2. And I have a bunch of Prisms and Nano Biscottis back there too. And you know, when Scott had to bow out of the community there last week, I thought it was kind of sad because I think Scott brought competition into the community when it was needed. And he was selling his board for a fraction of what some of the more advanced Plector boards were. And he was inventing features. You know, Frederick, Teensy Saber V3 was the first lightsaber soundboard to enable NeoPixels that kind of wasn't, you know, a commercial board. But the first commercial board to power NeoPixels was Igniter. Because if y'all remember when Irv came out with CF9, it didn't support NeoPixels. Prism did not support NeoPixels. Nano Biscotti didn't. I think he first brought in NeoPixel support on Nano Biscotti and then on Prism, and he was messing with the blade styles on Prism 5.5, and then that's when CFX came out. So to have lost NEC in the custom lightsaber community, I think is a huge, it has a huge impact because Scott was really a super guy, super smart, super inventive. Yeah, I mean, Scott brought a bunch of cool stuff into custom lightsabers, some of which, you know, you see relics of today in other soundboards, including Proffie and CFX. So Scott will be missed in the community, and I really hope that he finds a way to, you know, to get healthy again and climb back in. And, you know, I just wanted to say that little bit about Scott DeBoer. You know, a couple years ago, I think he was trying to corner the market on NeoPixels when they first came out, and he had a bad deal there with a manufacturer in China that kind of hosed him, that sent him a sample of something that he then went into mass production on, but the mass production items weren't as the samples he sent, and he ended up in a bad place on that. And then the True Swing, it never took off, and it still needed some perfecting, and Scott was working on it. And I just think it's kind of sad to have lost Scott DeBoer from the community. I mean, he's still going to be building custom lightsabers, and I'm sure he's still going to be working on boards, but he's not going to be manufacturing boards anymore, at least not for mass production and mass sales. And he's pulled down his store off the internet. But I'm sure that he blames Proffie and Teensy Saber for some of that, but at the same time, I think what Frederick did was kind of realize what was going on in the market. Yeah, it's horrible. He is a super nice guy. I hope he gets healthy too. But what was kind of going on in the market is you basically had NEC and Plector, and their prices were kind of going up, but NEC always tried to stay below Plector Labs and attract more people to install his boards. And CFX with the color changing add-ons was rather expensive. I mean, it was like almost $180 for both those boards. And then Frederick came along with Teensy Saber, and when Frederick came along with Teensy Saber V3, I mean, I remember on TRA I was trying to convert Plector fonts to work on an Igniter Saber. Hey, Kenny K. Hey, what's up? Bion, hello everybody. But I mean, the Plector Labs boards were really expensive, and Scott was really innovative. And I think a lot of what Scott was doing was pushing Plector, and Plector was pushing NEC, and we were all benefiting from it. And then Frederick came along, and I was trying to convert a font to work on NEC from Plector, or vice versa. I can't remember. And I remember Frederick chimed in on that thread on TRA and says, well, why don't you just install Teensy Saber? Because it can run any fonts. And I was like, you're crazy, old man. Dude, what do you mean it can run any font? Teensy Saber. I saw some guy on YouTube build Teensy Saber, and, big whoop. A bunch of complicated mumbo jumbo nonsense. I got a program that's complicated, and the rest is history. Because I got a Teensy Saber. And once I got a Teensy Saber work and programmed it, I haven't looked back since. And then Proffie came out, and Proffie has been so cheap, and I think Frederick's kind of opposed to profit. He's not building Proffie to make some enormous profits, because I think if he wanted to go into mass production on that and charge $80 or $90 a board, he'd probably get it. The fact that Frederick hasn't done that shows that Frederick's motivations are somewhere else. I don't think he's about profit margins. I think he's about innovation over profit margins. Still haven't quite figured Frederick out. He's a unique individual. I have not installed anything from Sabercraft, but I know they have a couple sabers that are really awesome. I think the big problem with Sabercraft, Bion, is they're from Turkey, and a lot of American customers, because of the strained relations between the United States and Turkey right now, it's kind of hard to get a lot of Sabercraft stuff into the United States. Like, you can't even buy stuff from them with PayPal or credit cards, because the American credit card companies won't let your money go to Turkey. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on. So I know there are some Sabercraft hilts in the United States, but not a whole lot of them. And it's unfortunate, because I think Sabercraft's turning out some great stuff. Hey, Rich. Hey, Rich, I saw your question about Proffie and the thing switching fonts. That's weird. I think either you got a bad SD card, or maybe there's a short in one of your switches or something. That's the only thing I can think of. I assume you installed Proffie in that crazy hilt with the hand guards and everything on it, the one from Corbanth. Well, 50s fit in 7/8 diffusion foam. Okay. Ugh. 50/50s are a tight fit in 7/8 diffusion foam, Bavacon. That is a very, very tight fit. Will they fit? Yes. I don't know that I'd do that. Oh yeah, we've talked about gestures. As a matter of fact, where's my short blade? We'll bring it in here. Let me
3.97 volts.
stab ignition, twist retraction. That is so awesome. I know. I am just freaking out about that. I'm getting better at it. The motion to get it is a little bit difficult, but once you get used to the motions, you know, it seems like the stab, that backwards motion, almost gets it every time. And the twist is a twist back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. Cole says, clown car of gesture jokes. He's not going to tell. There's a lot of bad gestures here. Yeah, Mike, 3535s are definitely on the slow boat from China. Everything's on the slow boat from China. Oh, yeah. People might. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, at first I couldn't get the stab ignition thing to work, but I almost have it down pat where I can get it every time. See, I missed it there. It's still finicky, but I'm getting better at it. It's just like the twist motion. The twist motion, I was like twisting real hard and I could get it sometimes and sometimes I couldn't, but there's a timeout issue in one of the prop files you got to change. There's a thread on open source about it. It's in the common files and it's like common saber base.h or something like that. And you have to change the motion timeout feature on that. Chime in, Kenny. I know Kenny knows where it's at. But you definitely need to adjust that timing because if you don't, motion times out in like 20 seconds, but I changed it to 90 seconds. And then that way, oh yeah, it's clean. It's almost like, you're jerking the saber backwards, that's it. I'm getting better at it. Yeah, it is. It is. It's got to be clean. It's the same as that twist. That twist has got to be nice and easy back and forth. Saber Armory's probably 50/50s until his new strips come out, Vivakin. He probably is selling 50/50s because they're pretty much the most common things out there. 35/35s are hard to find. So Mike says he just finished his first Proffie install on Graphics 2.5, crammed a single 50/50 in the foam just to test. It was a pain to get one in the 7/8 blade. Mike, I built a bunch of 7/8 inch blade, and my advice here is going to be the same as it always is every Monday. This is a 50/50 strip. This is a 35/35 strip. You can see the difference in width. On a 7/8 inch blade, you've got to use the 35/35s. 35/35s are the way to go on a 7/8 inch blade. It's very, very difficult to fit 50/50s in a 7/8 inch blade. And even if you do, that edge shadow down the length of the blade, we're talking about edge shadow. Let me pull in this saber here. We're talking about edge shadow. On a 50/50 strip, you'll have a solid shadow all down the lines on one side of your saber. This saber doesn't have any edge shadow. The reason is because I used 35/35 LEDs in this thing. And that's got Fernando's cooling thing on the blade. But yeah, 35/35s solve a lot of problems, especially in 7/8 inch blades. I have used 50/50s in 1 inch blades. But in a 7/8 inch blade, oh my God, 35/35s are the way to go. Yeah, 4.7 had, fixed some minor bugs, and the initial release of 4.5, there were some save state issues and some other minor issues that got fixed. But 4.7 is really awesome. I am having so much fun with gesture ignition and gesture retraction. The new OS is awesome. Fernando's blade styles are awesome. But the cool thing is, you know, I can still use all my old blade styles from the original OS that I'd already built. You can trim some 50/50 strips. Let me give you these 50/50 strips that I got on camera. You cannot trim them. See how the pads are on the outside of the strips? So you can't trim these. But if the pads are in the center of the strips on those 50/50s, you can trim them. I'm trying to see if I had any. I don't think I have any 50/50s where the pads are in the center, the kind that you can trim. But you got to be really careful trimming those strips. I would not, but you can. I would source 35/35 strips. If you just put in here, I'm going to put in the keywords you need to put on eBay in the comments. 35/35 SK 6812 144 per meter. If you put that in eBay and then make sure you're getting skinny strips. Yeah, some of the BTF ones are trimmable. The pads are more toward the center of the strip, so you can trim some on the outside of the 50/50s. But I order 35/35s off eBay, and I just got 2 shipments in 35/35 strips, and they're my go-to. Even on a 1-inch blade, I'm using 35/35s. I built 2 1-inch blades with 50/50s, and you know they're okay on a 1-inch blade, but on a 7/8 inch blade, it's almost impossible to get them to fuse where they're not killing you. You're welcome. That's what these are all about. That's why I have these strips here. I mean, these questions pop up almost every week. I built a bunch of NeoPixel blades. There's 2 things about the 35/35s that I want to say. Number one, Space Windu builds a lot of NeoPixel blades. And Space Windu swears by 35/35s for every NeoPixel blade. And he's a light fanatic. Number 2, Fernando De Rosa, who's like a blade guru. His blades are 35/35s. If those 2 are using 35/35s, then so should you. Replacement screw on the Graflex clamp replica. Which screw are you talking about, Jay Sparrow? Yep, that's what I just said, Fernando. Which screw are you talking about? This screw here? Or are you talking about the clamp lever? And do you have a Graflex 2.5? Because if you have a Graflex 2.5, this is just 440. That's 440. That's a slotted screw. I don't know if y'all can see. And I've also got a slotted screw there. Thin trans white blade stock. I get mine from TCSS. Now, J Sparrow hasn't chimed back in with which Graflex he has. A replacement screw on the Graflex clamp. Well, till he chimes back in. We've got a lot going on. A lot of cool stuff happening on the OS 4.7. Thin trans white blade stock by Haken. Oh yeah, is it out of stock? I know. It is a weird website. So did you get it, Cole? Is he still selling the 2.5 kits on his website? Yeah, I wanted to show y'all something else. So I'm building 2 more 2.5 kits right now. This one is going to be ESB. And I've done a lot of the machining on it. You know, I've got it countersunk for the screw there. I put the pommel end cap on it. I don't know if y'all can see that because this stupid camera sucks. But it's got the KR Sabers pommel coin on the bottom. Yeah. And then I've got another one that I'm building TFA. This one's TFA. And I already have the glass eye all bored out down there. And then both of these, you know, I'll show you guys the chassis before I install them. Bam. Now I'll do a lot of touch-up paint and other paint on that chassis, but there's a rough chassis. But this one's going to be TFA. Flash gun replica. From what company, J Sparrow? That's what we need to know. If you don't know what company, you know, you might be able to find it on the Graflex shop or the Saber Armory. Both of them sell a lot of Graflex parts. But those are two Graflexes in the work. Yeah, but the thing is, Cole, if you don't mind, were they still $225 on his website, or did he have them marked down? Because there for a while he was dumping them on eBay for like $90. You know, I'm not sure what he paid to have them made, but he was dumping them on eBay when he got really mad at Corvant. But I really hope that those. Yeah, that's too bad. But at least they're still available. At least the 2.5 kits are still available. You got the KR flash gun. J Sparrow, KR Sabers sells a lot of Graflex parts on his websites at www.thesaberarmory.com. www.thesaberarmory.com. There's a shout out for Cal at KR Sabers. That's his website. And you can go and look and see if you can find the screw on there. I'm still not sure what screw you're talking about. You're talking about the screw that goes from the clamp into the hilt, or you're talking about the actual thumb screw that goes into the clamp. And I believe he does have the screw that goes into the clamp. Yeah, so I have, you know, you can get them even cheaper than that, Mike, on Amazon. Because if it's the 440 screws that work in the 2.5s, I've got, you know, thousands of those screws. I thought I ordered like a batch, and they sent me thousands of those flathead screws, which was pretty crazy. But definitely, definitely you can definitely source those screws for sure. This shouldn't be a problem to find them. I was trying to think, is there something else I was supposed to show you guys tonight? I don't think so. I think I showed you all everything I needed to show you. Showed you that, showed you those, even showed you the Graflex. Well, yeah. So in the Graflex 2.5s, they're 440. And I just got stainless 440 flathead screws. And that's what I use on all my Graflexes. I replace what comes on the 2.5s with the standard flathead screw. Oh, if you over tightened it and stripped it, you're probably gonna have to drill it and tap it for one size up from 440. You know, probably 632, I'm thinking. So you're gonna need to get a 632 tap, and then you're gonna need to get some 632 slotted screws and just drill it and tap it for 632. And hopefully that'll still fit through that slot. I'm not sure. But yeah, I want to be careful not to over tighten it, because you got to remember, most of these hilts, you know, are soft metal, and you can over tighten stuff really easily in them. Yeah, Cole, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get it installed before I move. But I was going to try weathering the quillions and at least get the Saber weathered up. And of course, I'm going to go TFA, Cole, because, you know, my Kylo is a TFA Kylo. That's my trooping bucket. with my fans in it and everything. That's my trooping bucket there. And which, believe it or not, this was a Black Series that's been heavily modded. Heavily modded to look very much like a Novos. But I'll do it TFA style, so it'll have a lot of wear and tear on it. And you know, I want to do the fire. I want to heat treat the quillions on it. You know, everyone's like, well, the prop itself in the movie was painted. And I was like, yeah, it was painted to match. Wow, that box doesn't want to open. It was painted to match the heat staining that you'd get on stainless steel. So there's the quillions, and you know, I'm going to heat treat them, and then of course they'll be painted here. But this Saber still needs a lot of wear and tear. The engine's falling out. I haven't even done anything with this, but the thing is beautiful. It's a beautiful hilt. It's the prettiest Kylo Ren hilt that I think has been produced. I think it's better. I think it's better than the Phoenix props. And you know, Cal just announced today that he's getting ready to start another run in June, and you know, I'll have to go out to it. It's similar to the Corban tilt, Kenny K. It feels very similar to the Corban tilt to me. I like the Corban tilt. What I didn't like about the Corban tilt was the hatch. Reasonable low budget hilts. Thoughts? Yeah, there's some reasonable low budget hilts out there. To me, it feels very similar in girth to the Corban. Very similar. I do like this hilt better. There's definitely a lot more engineering that went into this hilt than went into the Corban. And I did not like the hatches on the Corban at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. But we need to talk about cheap sabers. Here's one. In my opinion, this is a Dark Force Custom Sabers Transcendence, and this is in blood soaked, and I don't even think they have this right now, but they do have this hilt in raw aluminum on their website. Dark Force Custom Sabers. I think you can get this hilt for like 125 bucks, and it's got a fully removable chassis on it. Now here's the cool thing about this hilt and their chassis. You can order several of this hilt in different color styles, or you can finish them yourself in different color styles. And the cool thing is once you install the chassis, this chassis, the whole chassis pulls out, and you can put it in any other Transcendence and it'll work. So you wouldn't have to pay for another install. That way you could have multiple hilts and run the same chassis with your soundboard in it and multiple hilts. This is my daily beater. This is the saber I carry with me everywhere. That falls out of my truck. You know, it falls onto the gravel. I beat it up. This is also the saber I was hitting the tree with in my thick-walled NeoPixel blade video. That saber's been to hell and back, and it still runs. MHS sabers. Yeah, Mike. I'll show you. I do. In fact, I wish I could build MHS sabers all the time. Stand by. So, I'm going to show you one UGG. So the UGG is my the first lightsaber I ever built. So don't laugh, because I've kept it. And this is all MHS, but this was the first lightsaber I ever built, which this is my Mako saber. It looks like a shark swimming through the water. Mako. And it's humongous. But this one's run an igniter. It's got exposed crystal chamber in it. I actually built that crystal chamber too. And that was my first lightsaber that I ever made. Cool part is that I've got all those SMD LEDs running on igniter right there, which that's pretty cool. Shows you kind of my mindset when I first started. I put blinkies all over the thing. There's blinkies all over the place doing their thing. But this was the first. Sorry, Kenny. That was the first MHS saber I've ever built. This is an MHS saber. This is my Nihilus. There's videos about this on the internet, and this is my nihilus. This was a custom nihilus that I did, and I don't even know if this thing's battery's charged. Nah, battery's not charged in this saber right now. But I'll take this apart and show you the inside of my nihilus, because this saber is like wicked crazy with the amount of work that went in it. Oh, dropped my kill key. That's the inside of nihilus. So it's got this crystal chamber here, and this is this turbine thing that goes. There's videos of this thing running on my page. The Proffie is in under here, and then there's like a Bluetooth thing that runs. So this is there's a video of this up on my webpage, and you know, it's just not, it's not charged, it's not running. I don't know. Hang on a minute. Let me put a fresh battery in it. I think I got a fresh battery. Stand by. Oh. Fresh battery. You can see the turbine spinning up. Now it's not going to turn off. Ah, I got too much crap going on. But yeah, that's my nihilus. And how do I get it to look like that? MHS. Yes, I used an 18650. A lot of work. This is all custom shrouds that I cut, and there was actually some custom aluminum pipe that I cut to go over top of the shrouds. This is all the custom shrouds here, and then I weathered it with aluminum black to get that black striping in between the shrouds. And then this is aluminum pipe that I cut, you know, on a miter saw. Jetburst didn't want to see that because it was dangerous. We'll see you, Kenny K. But yeah, that's MHS. That's an MHS nihilus that I made. This thing's awesome. Full video of this is on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go check it out. That's an awesome saber. So yeah, there's still guys building MHS sabers. Oh, we've been going almost an hour. Yeah, but you should go check out the full video on that thing, because you know, right now that saber's not in the greatest shape. I'm getting ready to reinstall that and do some improvements, you know, once I move. But there's so many things I want to do with my own sabers, and I never really have the time to work on my own sabers. But I'll set aside some time to work on my own sabers. But at any rate, let's call it quits for the night. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I'm so glad to see you guys back. Yeah, Rich, I mean, if I could really do what I want, I would just build MHS sabers. I mean, MHS is what I love to do. And, you know, your mind and your ideas are pretty much the guiding force on MHS. And, you know, that's kind of what MHS can do. You can do anything. I mean, you're not going to see that in the builder. That was just, it was an invention in my mind's eye, and I went to the metal shop and found some pipe that fits over their shrouds and cut those pieces custom. And you know, this saber is awesome. I love it. That's my custom nihilus. No, yeah, I mean, MHS is really cool stuff. I'm sold on MHS. I don't use 3.6 volts Bacon. I use 3.7. In fact, I'll show you the batteries that I use. I don't think there's going to be a label on here, but I mean, these are the Keep Power batteries, and it's 3.7 volts. Let me pull one out of the charger here. Bam. Those are the batteries. They're 15 amp cutoffs. If you're building a NeoPixel lightsaber, you're going to need the 15 amp cutoff. So you need to be very careful that you're getting the right protection circuit on there. If you're running a 5 amp protection circuit, your saber's going to cut off when you ignite it. Oh yeah, Ron, anytime. Enoch Root, welcome, even though you're late. Any builds for sale soon? Probably not. I am building 2 Graflexes, but one of my subscribers has already put dibs in on one of them, and another subscriber put dibs in a while back on one. I'll throw him out the chance to get it, and if he doesn't want it, then I may have a Graflex for sale soon, and it'll be one of these 2 behind me that I'm building, ESB. But I don't know when I'll be able to get them built, because I am getting ready to do. Oh yeah, there's going to be more stuff coming out from Hexec about his fundraisers, so there's going to be cool stuff. You guys check out his site. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get these sabers built out because so much is going on. I'm getting ready to go to closing on my house. So, oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited to see that. As a matter of fact, Jeff, if I win any of your raffles, you just go to your next person. I just donated to donate. But Lord knows I don't need any more lightsabers, even though I would love to have one of your sabers. I don't need any more. So give it to somebody that needs a lightsaber instead of me if I win one of your raffles. But we have gone well over an hour. We've gone 6 minutes past an hour, and Jeff is on here. He's the time Nazi holding us to time, but I'm so relieved to be back on here and to see you guys and to get out of some of the reality that I've been immersed in, and it hasn't been fun. And the only thing that I can say on top of the hashtag nerd up, it's never good to generalize any population. And I think I'll leave it at that. I owe 2 live feeds. I'm very fortunate that I got to come on tonight. It's good to see you too, Ken of the Hill. I was glad to see all of you guys. I needed a break. Really, really, really long hours. Good night, Cole. Cole's keeping fit, walking on the treadmill, watching the live stream. I was glad to have you in, Cole. And, thank you so much. And for sure, once I get that saber built out, I'll definitely show it on a live vid. I was very happy to be with you guys tonight. It's a welcome change compared to what I've been dealing with, which hasn't been fun. But I'm glad to be back talking about lightsabers again. And, hopefully we'll see you guys next Monday. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. And we'll talk about some other stuff. But y'all play around with that gesture ignition. If you have any questions about it, zap them to me on Facebook or email me, and I try to answer everyone's questions when y'all zap them to me if we don't answer them here on Monday night. But, certainly if your screen name is different than your email or different than your Facebook, just make sure that you say, hey, I'm, Bahaken from YouTube and had a question about whatever, and I'll try to answer it for you. Oh yeah, I'm definitely, Brian, definitely happy to talk about lightsabers this week. It's something that makes me smile. And thank you guys for tuning in. And, thank you all for making more lightsabers. And the world would be a better place if everyone had more lightsabers. If people would just do their duels with lightsabers and get their aggression out with lightsabers, it would be a great world. Think about that. Hashtag nerd up. May the force be with you all. Good night, Fernando, Enoch Root, everyone. Thank you for joining in. And don't forget to search Facebook group for MiComs. We have a MiCom raffle coming up. Facebook MiCom. Jay Sparrow, thank you for stopping in. Hopefully you find your Graflex screw. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining in, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully around 8:30 on Monday nights. I think we're going to stick with that. But may the force be with you all, and good night. Peace.